Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the most iconic baseball card from my childhood, so stay tuned. Hello sports card collectors and investors, thank you very much for sticking with us and coming back for another video. I'm really excited about this video. I'm going to be talking about the most iconic baseball card investment from my childhood, which landed in the late 80s, 1990, early 90s. And many of you, if not all of you, know exactly which card I'm talking about. It is the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card #1. It is the most iconic card from my generation, from that 35 to 45-year-old age group. It's certainly, the most iconic card in my mind. I can't think of one that was more groundbreaking. And what I'm going to do in this video is just kind of go through the history of it and, just talk through it. So let's go ahead and get started. This card, and this set in particular, it didn't all just, happen. There was momentum leading up to this in the sports card market. Actually, a huge set that had come out previously. The momentum leading up to the '89 Upper Deck set was the 1988 Don Oreste Baseball Set. This was one where, sports cards were getting really hot and everybody had to have '88 Don Oreste. And so, there was a lot of buying power behind it. There was a lot of demand, which prompted Upper Deck to come out with this groundbreaking set. And it was 1989 Upper Deck. And so this was the first set where, you had high gloss cards. There was holograms on the cards, and so it was something that was completely different. Obviously, you had just had regular cardboard, kind of bland, if you will. I mean, this was the kind of the new printing process, the new, high grade, high quality set. And actually, these cards, packs back then were anywhere from 50 cents to 75 cents. This was a set that changed that. This was more of a premium set to where these were as high as $1.50, $1.75 per pack of cards, which in 1989, adjust for inflation, I mean, that was substantial back then. I mean, it was something that, we had never seen before, and demand drove it. And so, this set, this Upper Deck baseball set, was 700 cards. The first 26 of these cards were rookies. The most iconic card that we're talking about, obviously, Ken Griffey Jr. is #1 in that set. What's interesting is, with him being a newer prospect back then, they didn't have any pictures of him in a Mariners uniform. And so what they had to do is they actually had to Photoshop the Mariners logo back then, or excuse me, it wasn't Photoshop back then. It was airbrushing. They had to airbrush, everything, and so, I guess they still had that, that technology, where they could do that back then, which they actually did a pretty decent job. There are some horrible airbrushing attempts from back then as well, but the success of this set, a lot of people thought this was going to fail. Okay, they thought, this is too expensive for cards, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's going to be a complete failure. It was a big risk on the side of Upper Deck. But the success of the set essentially propelled Upper Deck into the driver's seat in the sports card market. I mean, it was on fire, and really, 30 plus years later, people still know this set, they're still talking about it. One thing that's kind of interesting is, out of this set, and there's collectors, of course, that, would argue with me on this, but there's not really any of these other guys in this set that are really collected in a large scale. Ken Griffey Jr. is the one from this set that, has held that momentum over time. He is the iconic card in this set, which is just kind of interesting. Estimated print runs for these, initial print runs, so we don't know follow-up print runs. Estimated print run was $1 million per card for this. So I kind of laugh when I think about, how many cards are sitting in landfills that are not a Ken Griffey Jr. card. I mean, heck, there's probably Ken Griffey Jr. cards, of course, sitting in landfills too. But millions and millions of cards of players that, no longer really being collected. And so it's just an insane print run. And you know, when we talk about print runs today, it's funny because we get all worked up about, 5,000, 10,000 of this card or that card, but it's nothing compared to, this particular set and sets that were produced back in that junk wax era. And so, this card at its peak, the Ken Griffey Jr. card at its peak, a raw card was selling over $100, $125 back then, even though there was a million of them printed, which is absolutely insane to think about. Today, you can get a raw card anywhere from $5 to $10. Of course, condition is going to vary with that. For a PSA 10, and these have actually climbed substantially over the last year, they're now selling, recent eBay sold listings have this as a $750 to $1,000 card for a PSA 10. Now there are only, out of the million cards, if you're looking at PSA 10s, there's 3,793 on the current PSA population report. So, my gosh, you would think there would be 50,000 of these, but there's not. It's still a high pop count for sure, but just being that it is an iconic card, it's actually not as many as I thought it would be. Now, as far as, long-term investment, I think that, I don't know if I would buy 10, 20, 30 of these PSA 10s, try to hold them. I think that they will go up over time, just being that I don't think that there's going to ever be 50,000 PSA 10s roaming around. But, would I put a lot of money into this? No. I have one, and I'll hold on to that. I don't think I'm going to buy multiples of it. Although, like I said, this card has doubled in the last 12 months. 12 months ago, you could have got this card anywhere from $300 to $500. So you see that, and I equate that to the overall sports card market as a whole. There's a lot of money being pumped into it. So there's just a ton of demand that wasn't there a year ago, 2 years ago, that is there now, and which has caused that spike that we've seen. So, really interesting. It is, an unforgettable card for me. I wonder what my kids and what, kids today are going to consider the iconic card. What's that going to look like 30 years from now? This video, please subscribe, because we're going to do a series on iconic cards. This is the most iconic baseball card investment from my childhood. We're going to go through others as well, in baseball and in other sports, but stick around with us. Please subscribe and tell me some stories. If you have other cards that were iconic to you, I'd love to hear that in the comments, and we'll keep on going. So thanks very much for joining, guys. Have a great day.